Spartans, the podcast evolved, your home for Halo. I am your host, Oran, and with me today we have Tom.
Hey!
Krysta.
Snape kills Dumbledore.
And Aaron.
Hi guys.
And this week we're going to be talking about the Halo Infinite multiplayer technical test and our impressions and reactions to it. That's all this episode's going to be about. We've rescheduled our regular broadcasting to bring this content to you guys. If you have played it yourself, we'd love to hear your feedback and your opinions of it in our Discord, and we can share it on our next live news show. Before I get started, and even before I do the housekeeping, I do want to make clear to our listeners that during this technical preview, data miners were able to data mine the PC build of the technical preview on Thursday and Friday, and they were able to uncover some Halo Infinite campaign details. I'm not gonna even say what they found in terms of just like categories and stuff, so because I don't want our community to be spoiled, and us as hosts don't want to be spoiled, but you know, we are kind of plugged into the overall Halo community. We are on Reddit and Discord and Twitch and everywhere just to kind of be in that sort of space. So, you know, if we are, you know, victim to some of these spoilers, you know, we're not going to be reporting on them. We're not going to be reposting them, and we urge our listeners to do the same. And we have a kind of Discord server-wide rule that any sort of those types of leaks, if they are being, you know, shared within our community, we will not be tolerating that. So this is kind of our warning for everyone that we don't, you know, we've been waiting for this game for 6 years. I know everyone's excited to learn every little bit of details, but there's a reason a story unfolds in the way that it unfolds, so you're supposed to experience it in that way. So we hope that everyone proceeds with caution as they go about the internet. Other communities within the Halo community have kind of voiced and echoed similar sentiments to this, and I would just want to give a shout out to those community members, specifically like Reddit mods and Halopedia individuals. Like they're like some of the frontline defense to some of these trolls posting things, and that it's them that are going to be turning things down, blocking people, and removing posts that potentially could spoil it for everybody. So, you know, definitely respect other communities while you're out there, and please respect our communities while you're in here. And with that kind of out of the way, let's talk about Halo Infinite. We have our first look, and yeah, I'm just going to skip our housekeeping. I'll just do it all at the end of the show. All four of us have played the beta. Or rather the technical preview. Of course, it's through the Insider program through 343. If you're not a Halo Insider, you can go to halowaypoint.com and sign in, and you can click on the bar that says Halo Insider program, and you can fill out the form and join, and you could be invited to future flights. This is the largest flight that 343 has ever done, but it is the smallest flight that they will do for Halo Infinite. So as more and more flights happen before release, you know, more and more people will be invited, and you who, you know, either joined late or did not get an invite this go around may be lucky enough to get selected for a future flight. No guarantees, but you know, the earlier you submit it, you're in the system, you verify your email, you verify the platform you want to play on, and you can get in as well. So without further ado, I'm going to throw it over to Krysta, because I know you've been playing quite a bit. Day one, we saw marine level bots on live fire. That was the map. What are your kind of initial reactions to the overall experience of this tech build, good and bad, in the sense of like if you have connectivity issues or anything like that? What was the first day like for you?
My first day was actually Friday, so I didn't get the marine bots. I got straight into the ODST bots, which, oh my god, why? So I think live fire is a very basic map. It's good, but it's very basic. The ODST bots are way more challenging than I thought they were. I think the game is really fun, really smooth, really great. Of course, there's been bugs and stuff like that, lobby issues, connectivity issues, lagging issues, but it's a technical preview. But overall, my thoughts on Halo Infinite right now are sky high. I love it. Every time a match ends, I'm sad because it's ending and then I have to get into another match.
Aaron, what about you? Were you ever play Marine bots, or are you also a Friday player?
I got to join in for Marine bots at the start. Out of curiosity, because Krysta never said it yet. Krysta, are you on your Series X?
Oh, yes I am. I'm playing on my Xbox Series X.
Because I'm on my One X, and I have to say, I was pretty impressed with how this went. Funny, someone pointed out and went, it's not 60 FPS on the one consoles, it's 30, and I went, oh, that's what this feeling is. I was like, I knew something was weird, and then I was like, that's what it is. But it's a really solid 30, but I've liked it so far. Like, it looks as good as Halo 5, which surprised me for being a technical preview, because I thought it might look a bit ropey in a few things. There are a few weird things here and there, but like, it holds up pretty well. I thought the bots, even on Marine difficulty, they were more of a challenge than I expected, because I was prepared for Warzone firefight levels of bot intelligence and not what we actually got. The first time I ran into a squad of bots and they mowed me down, I was like, oh, I might be in trouble here. I like live fire. It gives me, I think at the time I said to Tom when we were playing, it kind of gives me like pit vibes. I know it's not the same sort of layout, but there's something to that over-under tower on the side thing with it. No, I've enjoyed it. I like some of the new weapons, not others. I think we have varied opinions on which ones we do and don't like. The only real complaint I had that wasn't technical related is I do not like the sound effect for the plasma pistol now.
Really?
I think it sounds a little small. There's something about it. It just sounds a bit weird. But overall, very impressed with most of it.
Alright. Tom, your initial reactions, what platform are you on, and when did you start?
Yeah, so I am actually playing on the original Xbox One.
Oh my god.
My very, very old console that I first got with Titanfall. And I also got to play it on the Marine difficulty. And I think initially I was really, really happy with the whole gameplay loop. I think one thing that really worried me, because I've always really enjoyed Halo 5, was I was really concerned that because of the vocal backlash that game got, that a lot of the advanced movement was going to be gone. And whilst that is true to some extent here, it feels like it hits a nice middle ground where you're not back to walking everywhere. It still feels quite nice and fast-paced and quite responsive, which I think is really, really cool. And I just really enjoyed it. I think the Marine bots obviously weren't that much of a challenge. It's kind of like your sort of average multiplayer game, really, in terms of the level of AI that they've got. But when you think about it, the fact that you're kind of getting that sort of resistance from an AI is really, really cool. And I was saying beforehand, it actually has me really worried about the campaign now, because I'm like, I've always had a chill ride with the campaign, I've always just been able to enjoy the story, and now I feel like I'm actually going to be really fighting against some difficult, banished characters if the AI is anything like it is in the multiplayer.
What difficulty do you usually play your initial campaign playthrough on?
Normal.
Normal? That's fine, that's fine. I think normal's a great way to have a chill time and look around the maps and really immerse yourself in the lore and stuff. I like to do legendary solo playthroughs of every single Halo game. It's not my initial playthrough, it's usually like my second or third playthrough when a Halo game comes out. And the fact that the ODST bots have... I mean, I never lost to the ODST bots, but they're smart. They're very smart. Not all the time, but in general, for an AI bot, they are quite smart. And that worries me because we haven't even, at this point of recording, the Spartan bots haven't come out. They're supposed to come out later today. But I am worried for my legendary solo playthrough.
The only thing I'm wondering about is, will these bot AIs be in the campaign? Because I wonder, are they like running on the server and they won't be in the campaign because you may not necessarily be online? I kind of wonder, is this like a Titanfall situation where they live on the server and they're only going to be an issue on the server, and maybe campaign mightn't be as terrifying as we are like expecting now.
I don't know, because if they even use some of the base knowledge that these bots have, they know how to move correctly, they know tactics correctly, they know how to come to an encounter correctly. I mean, I think if they just use some of the base AI learning that they used for these bots with the banished soldiers, I think we might have an interesting time. I think they'll be smarter. I don't think... Because, you know, you play some of the Halo games and some of the bots are just so dumb, especially in some of the early games. Like, they'll beat the shit out of you on Legendary, but they are very dumb and you can kind of cheese them to get around them. So if these bots are a bit smarter, you know, some of the old tactics might not work as well. Because I think even in Halo 5, the bots were pretty dumb.
Yeah, the thing I want to see about these bots is how do they handle like a game of big team. I want to see what they do with vehicles.
Oh, they're just going to drive them off a cliff.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
No, I've never seen a bot, like, fall off the side of a map or something like that, because for live fire, you can fall off the map.
Yeah. I saw one who got backed into the corner right around the edge, and it, like, fell, but then it was able to clamber quickly and pull back the gunfight, and I was like, that's a move that I wouldn't be able to pull off. I would have just fallen to my death.
The bots also do very well with team shooting.
They do, oh my god.
In some campaign or in like Warzone situations with Marines, like most players, I would say, can probably 2v1 bots, and I was able to play the Marine difficulty and did that a little bit, but I was still, I had to dial it back a little bit and kind of get off my remove that chip off my shoulder, because even on Marine level bots, like if they're team shooting you, like they understand that, and a team fight's always going to win over a solo if you don't have a power weapon or something like that. And then that's just multiplied when you go to ODST bots, to where like you definitely need to make sure that if there's two of them, that you block the point of the sight line from one, so you're focusing on the other and stuff like that. So it'll be very interesting to see how the Spartan bots behave.
I feel like 343 are hinting that the only way to survive in multiplayer is as a team. Like the bots very much act that way. I was listening to another podcast this morning and they were talking about their experience with the flight, and one person pointed out something that I kind of didn't really think about at the time, but the bots seem to stick to, if possible, like a group of 3 and one lone wolf out, like sort of almost herding across the map. You'll be running, you'll encounter one, and then while you go to deal with them, the other 3 fuckers will sneak up behind you and just rake you, and then run on. I have noticed they are prone to a few repetitive behaviours. I very quickly figured out that on live fire, when you spawn, you've got to get away from the left-hand side, because the 4 of them are coming charging up that grass bank every single time. And I noticed it as well in Recharge. They're always in that pit in the middle.
Yeah, they always go to the middle, down below where the what's it called? The power
The overshield is, yeah.
Yeah, they're always down there. I have a funny strategy for live fire, because all the way to the left of the base, there's usually a BR or a commando gun there. So usually I'll let someone on my team like run there and grab it, and then the bots just completely annihilate them, and then I just pick up the gun and go on with it.
Real team play right there, Krysta.
I know, right?
I learned very quickly to charge straight ahead, grab the 2 spike grenades, and then chuck them at the ground, that they just come around the corner on top of them. But then again, the first thing you notice is when you pop their shields, they all immediately chuck grenades at you, and then you've got to scatter, because they know how to... That's the thing I don't get, is I think they'll have to dial something back. The reaction times are too good. You shoot at them, you pop their shields. If they're close enough, I said this before the show, I feel like they've got a really wide beatdown angle, because if you're together, I find I tend to lose the beatdown if I lose sight of them for a second. But as soon as you pop their shields, they will chuck a grenade and then back off to try and recover, and you're like, that's the sort of thing that I only think to do maybe every 2 and 3 fights. I always end up fucking up and charging into the fight with no shields because I've panicked. Whereas they have none of that. They're like emotionless killing machines. Oh god, they are Spartans.
I feel like they detect you too easily. Like, once you get into a certain, like, range of them, they automatically know you're there.
Funny now that you say that, I did notice on Recharge a bot that killed me, and then while I was watching on like the aftercam, it looked down at the floor and panned around, and then I realised it was tracking one of my teammates on the floor below on his radar, and he turned around, tracked, and then ran off and jumped down the ledge after him. I was like, that's a little too...
terrifying.
Yeah, but it just immediately, it stood on top of my corpse, looked at the floor, panned around 180 degrees and followed the tracker, and off he went. And I was like, oh.
That's like Terminator level shit. Oh my god.
It really is. Like, they're really crazy. Like, their detection of you, how they react to you. I mean, I feel like sometimes they never miss shots because the bots basically are the game, right? Like, they basically have aim assist and they have these like crazy detections and stuff like that, but it's just like, oh my god, how am I supposed to beat them when they are Halo?
They are still prone to some weird things though, because I noticed more on ODST bots. They tend to stand still sometimes. They kill a player or they do something and then it's like they stop to think about things.
They're human authentic. They go AFK, Aaron.
I watched them camping on live fire. They were camping the skewer before it spawned, and then it spawned and the two bots just stood there, and then they engaged me, and then they picked up the skewer and ran on. I was like, was that like a tactical decision? Did they not want to pick up the weapon and be caught in a reload animation or something?
The AI might have been trying to prioritize which player got it, maybe? They're obviously not people, so they don't have any sense of, like, entitlement to an object or something like that. It's literally the AI calculating which bot it should just give it to.
Because one of the behaviors I see on Livefire more so than the other maps is when the equipment spawns on that, like, cylinder on the right side of the map from the spawn, you'll have like 2 or 3 of them like jumping, trying to get up there, but they don't quite figure out that you need a clamper to get up, and they just kind of jump and look down and spin around a little bit trying to get that, and they'll like 2 of them will just kind of do that, and so you just lob a grenade and all this kind of stuff, and then they look at you. But yeah, it's almost there because they know to be there to get the power up because it's available, but that logic hasn't quite, worked itself out to know how to exactly get it.
On Bazaar, they were terrifying. I lost my first bot match on Bazaar because they just own that square in the middle, and they seemed much tougher on that map, but maybe it was just because I'd only played a few games on it and I wasn't too sure of where everything was and I was feeling my way around, but Jesus, they were brutal on that map. They just kept coming over the rooftops. They would land down on top of you. I was trying to do my best. I also had my first experience of joining mid-match. That was fun. I rolled into the game and went, oh, I'm in the middle of a match. What's the score? 13-22 with the bots. I was like, oh, fuck. That was a slaughter. That was the match I lost. It was chaos the entire time.
I think you make a good point, though, because the bots obviously don't have to adapt to new maps. They already know the layout and they know where everything is. And us as players, we have to adapt and we have to work out where the power weapons spawn, where the heavy weapons are going to come in at certain points in the match, when is that point that they'll spawn, all of that kind of stuff. So there's like the human element there where we probably have to play a few games to work things out, and they don't. They're just straight on it. It's like it is genuinely quite terrifying.
Can we take a minute to appreciate, what do they call the friend and foe system now? What's their name for it?
The outlines. I don't know what the technical thing is.
You can change the color of the outlines and stuff.
I'm so happy. I was playing with Tom yesterday and I was fiddling about with it because I now have settled on salmon for the enemy AI and mint green for allies.
Well, you're partially colorblind, right?
Yes. So this was magical. The only complaint I had is I changed the fire team color, and that didn't seem to do anything because Tom was in my fire team, but he was always mint green.
That's just how I roll.
I want to know where Tom is because it doesn't show you your ally names or call signs above their head, just that exclamation mark, and I'm like, I want to know which of the mint green ones Tom is, because like he's the one I need to focus on because I'm in chat with him. But for some reason it didn't do any of that. That's my only complaint about that system, but it was fantastic to change the colours and be like, because that's the first few matches I really struggled. I was shooting at my own players, I was panicking and shooting at bots, I couldn't tell who was who, and then it was like, oh, this like lovely colour difference between salmon and mint green just really helps.
My issue was trying to distinguish between the blue outlines of my allies and then the blue Spartans armors, because like all of the bots had the same blue armor, and so I had a hard time like with that initial reaction of like, okay, I see the blue outline, okay, that's my teammate, and then I see the blue Spartan, but then there's a faint red outline, so I was having a hard time like distinguishing that. And I saw there was a video on Twitter, and someone said, like, try changing the outlines to yellow or like pineapple or whatever the color is, and that gives it a little bit more of like the yellow goldish like shield pop. And so that allowed me to like much more easily discern between my team and the enemy team just because they're all blue. And then I even changed my teammates to like purple or something, so then that way I didn't see the blue and the blue of the enemies, because that was kind of confusing to me. But that all being said, what that then does is that it makes the reticle yellow and the dots on your radar yellow as well. So I would still prefer that to be red. So, I'm going to probably do some feedback and try to see if we could separate those two UI elements from the outline color to the red reticle and like red motion tracker.
While we're talking about this, in general, what do we think about the removal of the red versus blue mechanic? Because that's kind of a big thing in Halo Infinite.
I'm quite conflicted purely because all of the AI we've been fighting is blue, so it hasn't quite kicked in yet that it's not going to be there. But I think it works well enough. I think the outline system does a good job at making it really, really clear. Obviously, if you have somebody who's wearing armour that's the same colour as the outline, then it's a little bit difficult. But broadly speaking, I think it's fine. I think it's quite nice seeing a lot more diversity in the Spartans in that kind of introduction cinematic at the start as well. It's really cool seeing like one person with a fully red arm, another person with all green and then just a white helmet. It kind of adds like a lot more of that personal factor to the armour, I feel.
It's definitely like the more modern aesthetic of a shooter, where you get to put whatever you want on your character and then keep it like that.
Yeah, I think right now I don't really like it, and I think it's just because the enemy team is all blue, and I kind of touched on that with what I was just saying about the outline UI colors and all that, but I think once I start playing against other players that have their own unique armor and everything is diversified to where when I look at all the different Spartans from a distance, I'll see just generic different colored Spartans, and then the outlines will be the kind of large differentiator between the two teams. I think I'll be able to really discern, and it'll be a little bit more natural. But like right now, because I know that the enemy teams are just blue Spartans, the outlines are kind of messing with me. So if a team... So I guess the real challenge will be like if a team of 4 decide to change their armor coating to all red or to all blue, that could be a little weird. I guess all red wouldn't be that bad because the default color is red, but just having the other team completely blue with the outline being default to red just throws me off because your allied default is also blue.
I think I might put it in as a suggestion. I don't know whether or not they do it, but I feel like the outline system might need like the equivalent of like an opacity sort of slider that you could turn it up to be a more solid in the traditional multiplayer sense. Like if you're having trouble being able to distinguish between an armor color of an enemy and the highlight. Maybe you can turn the highlight up and that will like cover them over more, and then you will be like, no, this enemy is now a solid mint green, pineapple, whatever the hell color you pick for it. You can turn it up to 60% and then you would have a much better chance of seeing them. I feel like that's maybe a helpful thing. Like, I find it, I'm not struggling now with my allies. I can see them quickly because that nice light color stands out on them, but it might be nice to like be able to turn the color up a bit on the enemies and make it a little more bold or stand out sort of a thing.
Yeah, that's probably a good solution. I agree. I hope that maybe in the future, if they do bot runs, they'll put shaders on the bots so they're at least distinct. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but they use kind of the same names for all the bots. Some of them are quite funny.
343 Beard can fuck off.
My favorite is 343 Meowner.
343 Rhinoceros all the way.
I think another one was like 343 Salty something.
Yeah, I had that one in my last game.
But since they already have like distinct names and stuff for the bots, hopefully maybe they can assign them distinct shaders on their Spartan. They don't need armor differences, but maybe just different colors will help us identify whether the system is working well or not.
I imagine they'll randomize it more. I figure if you're going to use bots in the final game, they'll maybe just like have random armor combinations and colors, because that's a good way to show off all the shit in like the season pass. You give the bots access to all of it and let them parade about in the whole selection. But I was kind of wondering, I noticed the bots, I assume with their different names, they are running different like versions of the AI, because I noticed some bots have much better kill rates than other bots, and some bots favor particular weapons. Some of them will always go to the pistol and some of them won't. And we were playing in a game earlier and I meant to take a screenshot of like the after action report, but like on the bot side they were all running like whatever it was, 10 deaths, 11 deaths, 12 deaths, and then one of them was like 3 deaths, but had more kills than anyone else, and was like, oh, you are like running slightly more powerful than the rest of them.
I wonder if the different bots' names have different strategies that they're using. I wasn't able to like sit down and like watch them and think about it, but I was thinking maybe like, you know, 343 Rhinoceros is the one that likes to crouch a lot, or maybe one of them is the one that does the noob combo, or...
I won't be surprised at all in the next couple of weeks if like the HCS guys come and tell us that the Protoc guys, Will and Josh, like if they comb through some of this footage after the fact and go, we have noticed the strategies of what bots were doing what, like that wouldn't surprise me at all, because I feel like they would have just called them bot 1, 2, 3 and 4, or just bots. They wouldn't have had names, but the fact they all have call signs, they probably are all like rolling different AI strategies and maybe different attack models or whatever it is.
Or maybe like, because 343 does have a pro team, maybe every bot is based off of one of the pro team's play method, so that the AI was like, the AI watched that particular person play through so many hours of multiplayer, and then that was the strategy that the AI was tasked with using.
The AI just ingested that person. The pro team don't exist anymore, they just are the AI.
Well, I feel like the AI are like assimilating, right? I feel like we're gonna get a Halo Skynet pretty quickly after this. From the mass murder of bots. What else do we want to talk about the new weapons, maybe?
Before we do weapons, we touched this a little bit, but the maps. Like, do we have a favorite of the maps before we kind of move on? Because I think weapons can then tie into the weapon drills. But yeah, there's 3 maps. We have Live Fire, Bazaar, and Recharge, with Bazaar being the 3rd that was released. Krysta, you say Bazaar. Tom, are you agreeing?
I am going for Bazaar. I want to put something to you guys that I'm very fascinated by. I tweeted this to Jeff earlier as well, so hopefully he'll come back and confirm it. But in that map, there is a poster of Chief, and it's his Halo 5 render. It's like the blue team art that was used during all the promotional stuff. So does this mean that map is our first time seeing Earth post-Cortana attack?
That's actually very interesting. I didn't think of that. Because you can obviously see that it's probably a new Mombasa. It's not looking too hot at all. It looks pretty much almost like a ghetto. Like, it's not very nice. There's obviously, like, the space elevator being rebuilt in the background, but if this is, like, Cortana has taken over, the shit's not going very well for them.
Or it's still, to some degree, because there's, like, different barricades that are destroyed or platforms that are broken. Like, it could just be that this area hasn't been, like, rebuilt that much. You know, maybe the middle of the map that has this kind of, like, bright red and blue colors compared to the outside part of the map.
The aesthetic for this area is definitely old Mombasa from Halo 2. So I'm really interested if this is maybe just part of the area that we didn't quite fight through in that game, but it's maybe like to the left of the corridor we went through, or to the right of this area we went through. I will admit I am a little bit disappointed that Hotel Zanzibar didn't pop up though.
Aaron, which map are you most fond of the three?
I only got to play a couple of games on Bazaar, so it's out of a choice between Recharge and Livefire, really. It's probably Livefire for now. I'm hoping to get some more time on Bazaar tomorrow, although if it's on Spartan difficulty, I plan to just cry quietly in a corner the whole time. So I'll see how that goes, but no, I like Livefire. Like I said, it gives that sort of, it has that pit vibe to the way that's what it sort of gives me with the way the levels laid out, so I kind of enjoyed it.
I think I might go Bazaar as well. Livefire doesn't do a whole lot for me. I think the maps are that map is kind of a little too open outside of just the corners and like the middle. The middle's like a single hallway, and then the corners of the map is like where all the covers are, but I feel like the two lanes are just a little too open with just not a whole lot. So I'm interested to see how like a Capture the Flag, or like maybe this is more of like a King of the Hill or Strongholds type of a game, or a map for those types of game types. So I'm not overly impressed with Livefire right now. And then Recharge kind of grew on me, but I think its kind of verticality is what makes Recharge a little bit more interesting. But I really like the more symmetrical nature of Bazaar. It gives me more like Shrine type of vibes than like, you know, other sort of like Halo 2 maps.
The verticality on Recharge and also Bazaar is really interesting because it's clear they were built to play well with the grapple shot. So on Bazaar especially, like we were saying, obviously there's those platforms. And on either side, on like the lanes either side of the main square, there's essentially just like random broken down balconies on the side of the buildings. And when I first looked at them, I was like, oh, they look a little bit out of place. But then I was like, oh, well, they're obviously there so you can jump up, and if you've got a grapple shot, you can swing across as well. So I think it's quite cool that they've sort of, from the ground up, built for equipment to factor into how the maps play as well.
Should we talk about the maps? Or, sorry, the weapons?
Before we talk about weapons, can we touch on personal AI?
Oh, I've been rocking Pyramid. He's so anxious and I love him.
We could talk about just customization in general, but yeah, what AI are you using, Tom?
So I have been using, I think it's Sphere, or if not, it's got, yes, Cirque, there we go. And all I have to say is so psychotic. I love it. If you're listening to this and you can give me the kind of reinforcement in my actions that Cirque does by laughing psychotically when I get a kill, then get in touch because we need to go on a date. And that's all I have to say.
Whoa, you've fallen in love with your personal AI.
I have. Now it needs that enhanced suit feature.
God, you're gonna destroy the world with your breakup, Tom. Come on, stop.
YOLO. Created 2.0.
Butler is basically BB, isn't he?
Yeah. There's a bug to where I hear Butler even though I have Cirque equipped, and it makes me sad because I really like Cirque, and I was just looking from pure like I guess like objects, and I was like, oh, Cirque looks cool, and then I listened to her in a few matches and was like, oh, she's great, and I went and like tried the other ones here and there and was like, yeah, they're all kind of whatever. And then Butler just imposes himself.
Yeah, there's such good potential though with these guys. Like you can tell they're going to sell so many AIs with so many voices, and it's going to be great. Can I just interrupt with one comment about the bots? I have just seen an article posted where it says Halo Infinite's bots may be learning how to teabag players, and someone has a screen capture where they're attacking a bot that appears to be teabagging the downed enemy, and I'm like, oh god, they really are learning.
Wait, so they are learning? Oh my god, we're fucked.
Yeah. Well, no, we're teabagged. It's different.
Customization. Do we like kind of the way it's going? Obviously, they don't have a lot of customization options in the build, because there's going to be plenty more. I, for one, kind of don't like the horizontal, like, menu, in the sense that, like, I have to scroll all the way left and right for whatever it is, because I could just imagine as, seasons go on and on, I'm going to have a butt ton of different armor coatings and armor pieces and all these different things, and to go through a single line or a single like row of customization options, I feel might be kind of tedious, and I feel like we need more of like a grid sort of customization like menu and stuff like that.
I understand that, but they do seem to have a favoriting system and a system where you can like have presets of your Spartan, which may cut down on the tedium a little bit.
Yeah, I wonder if there's like ways to like hide stuff, maybe. Like if it's like, oh, I definitely don't really like that helmet.
You can filter by favorites and stuff. I did notice that there is like a filter option when you're in the armor hall, so you could go in and filter by favorited armor and stuff and only see the components that you like, which would be handy because in Halo 5 like there's a lot of shit that you just don't want to see. But I think I'd prefer like if that menu was along the top and it maybe dropped down along the left and gave you a 4x whatever drop down to show all of the helmets and kept your Spartan on the right that you could see them. Like it is a lot of scrolling right all the time that I'm with you. I'm not overly fussed on that. I think that's going to get very slow very quick.
I hate to be that guy, but I'm still not sure how I'm feeling about coatings.
No, I agree.
I came into it and I was like, okay, if there's enough combos there, it'll be fine. But a lot of them are either just full colours, so it's like all green or all red, all purple, or there's one that I've just equipped on my Spartan that's got some like digital camo on the chest, but then it's just loads of random colours all like mashed together. I'm kind of like, I get that you're trying to cover every base, but it still doesn't really make up for having the customization there. The issue is I don't think there's any way they could work around it now, because I was initially thinking, oh, maybe they could add like secondary colours back in, but if you do that, then that still defeats the point of coatings. So I feel like it's something that we're going to have to learn to live with, but I did find it a little bit more restrictive than I was hoping.
Well, I mean, are you a Destiny player, Tom?
I've dabbled in it.
How did you think of the shader system in that?
Yeah, I thought it was the same. I wanted... What did I want? I think I wanted an all-black hunter, and it took so long to get a shader that just didn't have additional colours or things. And I get that the idea is to keep you invested in it, but I also then understand the argument from the perspective of people who wanted more customization and now can't do that this time around. I can see it from both perspectives. I just got a little bit frustrated with it.
Well, hopefully they have like the basic color shaders available, And I think that's what they were trying to showcase, because there are a lot of like solid color shaders, but I'm hoping that those are the shaders that are pre-unlocked when you load up the game.
Well, they are. I think all those ones are called like recruits, so I imagine they're the defaults. I did quite like that solid green one that you get for like completing the week's challenges. Although the random white helmet's a little weird. I think, Tom, you said as we were playing at the time, was like, you look like you stole someone else's helmet and just carried on. I was like, that's a fair point. I see potential in it.
I echoed a similar thoughts to Krysta, Tom, about my sort of initial reaction, and I think it honestly just is that it's one of those things that's just going to have to ramp up. Like, whatever we get at launch, it's going to feel pretty restrictive because we only have X amount, as opposed to the combinations that we get with the color swatch system. But I'm still being optimistic and using kind of Destiny as the kind of guinea pig, is that, you know, there's a point where they just throw so many shaders at you that, like, you really do have a lot to work with, and I just, you know, I think we just need to wait to get to that point, unfortunately. Because it's definitely here for staying, because it's like how they've done, like their systems is integrated into this to where it is not as easy as just flipping a switch to turn on color swatches. So it's definitely here to stay.
If they were getting like adventurous down the line, like I wouldn't see it being like a launch thing, but I think they need to go like the route of, you know, in Forza where you can like edit the car codings. They need like something like that where you can like whip up your own armor coding and then submit it and be like, this might be something you'd be interested in. I could see them, if they did something like that and every month they went like, here are 50 user submitted shaders, they're now part of the game, go mad.
Oh, that's cool.
That'd be really cool, yeah.
That's probably the way around it, because like you see the creativity of people with Forge mode and you go like, if you gave them the ability to like have basically a Spartan mannequin and go, design it, figure it out, submit it, and we'll have a look at it, and provided your colours don't look like a dick when you rotate the right way, you know, because that's always what inevitably happens.
You gotta hide those in there.
You need like a flesh color all the way to the helmet, which needs to be like a pinky color, and then your Spartan's a penis.
Like, this is exactly why we lost. This is really why all games took out emblems you can make yourself, because everyone inevitably goes down that route and they go, which genitals can I make and what way can I do it? And you're like, oh.
My issue is Cyberpunk let me choose my genitals. Why can't I choose them for my Spartan?
Yeah, I want my Spartan to have just a huge cock.
You kind of can, in as much as you can pick the voice. There's something, while we're talking about customization, you need a way. I know the option to have it is blurred out or is shaded out in the game, and you have to go through the Waypoint app, which I did download on the second night, but there was no way to preview the voices, so I got stuck with this weird sort of Southern Spartan.
Oh my god, I love the Southern Spartan.
Yeah, I'm just like, I don't know if I would have settled on this one. I would have been nice to play them in advance. I wanted a sort of slightly deranged Spartan voice to go with my slightly deranged AI. That feels like the way to go.
That sounds like a budding romance right there.
If I'm running around, I want my Spartan to like pick up the skewer and just shout out like, fuck yeah, skewer, and then run off.
To piggyback off that, has anyone else dabbled with the Waypoint app? I've played around with it for a day or two, and I like where it's headed, but there's just a few hiccups I think need to be cleaned up here and there in terms of like formatting and how things are displayed. But I think it's very promising, and it's nice to kind of have all these settings on my phone instead of needing to log into Halo Waypoint on a computer or just through my web browser.
I was telling Aaron I literally have no space left on my phone, so no Waypoint app for me.
You gotta delete some stuff, Tom. Just delete stuff.
There's stuff that can't be deleted.
Just delete the stuff you can delete. You don't need that many nudes on your phone, Tom. Come on, delete a couple of them.
But it's different angles, different lighting, you know?
You filled your phone with nudes, Tom, and now you can't play Halo correctly.
Look, Halo wouldn't let me choose like Cyberpunk would, like I said, so I had to improvise, okay?
It's not a bad app. It is kind of temperamental. A lot of stuff doesn't appear when you click on your Spartan appearance in the app. I can't see my Spartan because it's just not there. I can't tell what body type does because all it seems to do is go bigger love handles or smaller love handles.
Yeah, that's kind of all it looks like. Yeah.
It has, like you said, it has good potential to be a good app. I can see when you can look at your challenges and when the challenges are slightly more varied than what we have at the minute, it could be useful. I'd say probably the best thing to use it for will be activating your boosts and stuff without having to go into that menu all the time. Things like that. That's what I used the Destiny app for a lot, was that, and pulling, you won't have it here, but pulling weapons out of your vault and things like that. It's not a bad app. It's not terrible.
It's not terrible. It just needs some work, I think. It'll be interesting to see how much I really customize stuff, because in Destiny I wasn't really changing armor and that kind of stuff on the fly because I wanted to look differently. It was because I wanted different powers and things and guns for different things. Since Halo's not going to have anything of that, I almost would rather just make those changes on the console, so in the game. But we'll see how it goes.
I think if they added in Spartan Company control from the app would be, assuming Spartan Companies make it back for Infinite, it might be nice to be able to see messages and post stuff and things like that from the app while you're in the game.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree as well.
Right, so the only other so there's the multiplayer bot side of the game for the preview, but we also had weapon drills that was included in this. So I think this is a good time to talk about weapon drills and talk about the weapons in general. We have some returning weapons and some new weapons. I don't know if it was Tom or Krysta who has a burning desire to talk about it first. But yeah, take it. What are you guys' reactions to, I guess, the weapon drills? Did you guys dabble with any of those?
I absolutely love this mode. There's so many things I like about it. I like it from a lore perspective because I think the fact that this connects up to the live fire map as well and kind of helps to really ground the Avery J. Johnson, is it Academy of Military Science? I think that's it. It really helps to kind of build out the lore of this location, which is really cool. I thought it was cool seeing how the actual sandbox area where you're doing the drills in it appears to be generated procedurally depending on what weapon you're using. So I noticed that the fence will render in, then the obstacles will render in, then the weapon itself. I thought that was really interesting, and that adds a lot of scope for doing different things with it further down the line. And I thought it was a really nice way of actually getting the chance to work out how weapons play before you get in game with them. Because, I mean, something like the skewer, for example, traditionally if you're picking up something like that in the middle of the map, you might assume that it's got area damage as well, and it's got splash damage similar to the spanker. But actually using it in advance was a good way to understand that this was more of a precision weapon like the sniper rifle. And I just think it's nice to kind of have for want of a better word, a safe space where you can practice with those things without the pressures of actually being in a multiplayer match. Although I will say this was the buggiest part of the game for me. So I found that a lot of the time the menus would load in while the previous game screen was still in the background rather than going back to the menu. And there was also one point where I just couldn't load up the sniper rifle for some reason. Everything else was fine, but trying to load up the sniper rifle made my Xbox crash. So again, that's just intermittent issues, but that was something worth noting. But overall, yeah, I think it's awesome. It's great that you don't have the pressure of picking up a weapon and not knowing what it does. It's nice to have the chance to actually learn how a weapon functions, so when you get your hands on it in an actual match, you're able to do a lot more with it straight away.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't think I had a crash once when I was loading from level 1 to level 2.
Oh, I only did level 1 because I'm a noob.
I did most of them. I think I didn't do like the rocket launcher and plasma pistol because I was like, why do I need to do those? But yeah, I kind of echo with what Tom's saying. Like, I really like it from a lore perspective. I really like it as like a warm up. I'm able to, do. I mean, I went in there with the BR and I just went to like level 2 and I would do the drill and then restart it, tweak a sensitivity setting, do the drill again, and then tweak another setting until I kind of was in somewhere that, felt a little right. So I think that that's something that other first person shooters have in kind of the modern gaming field. So I think it's great that that is included, and I like how there's definitely thought for like how to engage the different enemies in these. Like for the bulldog, for instance, like there's some Spartans that are pretty far away that like I wouldn't have thought to shoot with a shotgun at that distance, but because they're back there, you aim down sights and then you shoot probably 3 shots instead of 2, and you could still kill them. And so it's just like, oh, okay, if I need to close the gap or whatever, yeah, I could still use this weapon at a farther distance than I originally thought. So it's a good addition.
It makes me curious to see what other stuff they're going to do for the Academy, because we've seen like the sort of obstacle course maneuverability looking bit in the trailer where there's like someone is clambering and running around. I wonder, will they have something similar to like a live fire area then, where you will put your maneuverability and your weapon drills to the test and run through bot things?
Depending on how they want to build it out, I think they could do anything. So if you look at the live fire map in the background, there's loads of pine trees and there's loads of forests. So you could easily have it that the UNSC's got vehicle tracks out there as well, and maybe you can practice handling a warthog or a gungoose. I think there's a lot of scope to build on it once the game's out for sure, and do some fun stuff with the Academy. Vehicle
drill seems like the obvious. You get a new vehicle, take it out, go for a run in it, you get your Wasp, here's a course to run across and strafe bot Spartans and practice with the weapons. So it seems like the obvious thing to do. You want to practice in your Warthog for a while, make sure you're getting a bit better at it. Maybe there's a vehicle you don't like, you can fuck about with it.
I'm going to pitch something to you guys right now. If Firefight comes back, use the Academy as a map, and suddenly you're practically playing through Halo Forward Unto Dawn.
Yeah, it's true.
One thing I want to ask about weapons while we were kind of talking about them. Splash damage on the rockets, bit high?
I love it, yeah. It's so much more allowing for the fact that I'm inaccurate as fuck.
I know, but if you've got 3 Spartans within like 30 feet of each other, they all die.
Yeah, it's perfect.
That's a bit much.
That's called shrapnel. I was very surprised actually that the skewer doesn't have any radius damage. I know I mentioned that, but the fact that you're loading this huge missile into the end of this weapon and it then has no explosive impact whatsoever really took me back.
It's not a missile, it's just a spike.
It's like a giant harpoon.
It's just like a big javelin.
I thought it was like a rocket. Oh my god.
Now, I was listening to someone's stream and they saw the Ravager they fired the Ravager at a Spartan, and they were right against a wall, and of course when that happened they just fell down and died, and they were like, oh, missed opportunity. They should have the physics to where if you hit someone near a wall, it would pin that Spartan or the brute or whatever to the wall. Like, that would be insane if they can like implement that. That'd be so cool, because that's literally what it is. You're shooting this giant ass spear.
Like, it's a more vicious just version of the railgun, so like I wouldn't expect it to have a massive area of effect, but also that's the type of weapon I never pick up normally, so unless someone's there in a wraith, I'm not even going to pick it up and attempt to hit them with it. I'm just going to run past it and carry on. But I do like that you can pick up the power weapon and take it and drop it somewhere else. There's a lot to be said for, well, I'm not going to snipe but I'm here and the sniper's unclaimed, so I'm going to take it and then shout over team chat and go, who wants the sniper? I have it. Instead of like having to camp the sniper or take the sniper and then have someone like betray you or you have to die to give it to them.
Interesting. I never thought about that implementation, but that sounds great.
Well, because how many, like, I know I will just pick up a power weapon even though I don't intend to use it just so that the enemy doesn't have it. So now we actually have a better system of being able to put it down somewhere for someone else.
It seems like a good way to go. Like, I assume the other thing you'll be able to do if we ever get it is you will be able to clip it onto the back of the Razorback.
Yeah, you will. Yeah.
Jog on then. Although I did throw away my assault rifle in one match and that wasn't good.
Oh my god, it took me a long time to hit left on the D-pad to change my grenades other than right on the D-pad, which I just throw my shit away.
I remapped that on the Elite. That was the first thing I did, was like, no, we're going to flip that left on the D-pad is right and right is left. That needs to change. So that's the first thing I thought was move that.
In context with the weapons, how freaking cool is it that you can grapple weapons into your hand?
Yes, it's amazing. The grappling hook is the best thing ever. I love it.
I was using it to be a dick at one point because somebody was like, "This." Well, I mean, I had already started sprinting towards the commando, and somebody else started sprinting towards it as well, and they were closer. So I was like, "Do you know what? I'll just grapple it into my hand, so then I get the commando."
No!
My first experience of the grapple was, oh, here's an enemy, his shields have popped, I hit it, I shot towards him, he smashed me in the face, I died instantly, and I'm like, that was not the fun experience I wanted. Also, while we're talking about equipment, the drop wall is far too slow to deploy. It is no use to you in a firefight.
Yeah, I think you set it up before a firefight happens, really. I think that it's a tactical thing before enemies come near you. I don't think it's like a...
I want it to be more like the Covenant, force field barrier things that you chuck it out and it deploys before it hits the ground, because the only time I'm going to use something like that is like an enemy is across the map, they are coming at me and my shields are going down and I need cover to like hide for a second, whereas you chuck the shield, the drop wall out and then they kill you and then the drop wall goes up and you're like, hey, great timing.
Yeah.
I did use it a bit like how Krysta described it though, where I was stood in front of the doorway where the commando or battle rifle spawns on live fire, and I knew that the enemy spawns had just flipped, so I preemptively put it down there so I could like bottleneck them. I think if you do that and you kind of have that element of forward planning, then it's a lot more useful. What I was going to say, the grapple hook and the gravity hammer, holy crap. Because the gravity hammer's got the longer swing this time around, where it feels like you have to like charge it up before it hits, I was swinging towards people, charging up mid-air, and then just hitting the second I landed, and that is insane. It's like one of the best feeling combos I think I've ever used in a Halo game.
It's so much fun. It's so good. Ugh. And then just getting around the map is so much fun. It's just fun. It's so much fun to use. It's just such a treat. I wish we had more of it in this preview. I feel like I don't get to use it enough as I'd like.
It's weird because all the games I've been in, nobody ever picks it up. But I did learn something interesting. You can grapple hook to yourself. More of the grapple hook.
Perfect!
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, using equipment again there's a little bit of a learning curve, because like I was like running around the map once and I looked at my weapon counter and I saw I had like 3 drop walls and I'm like, what am I doing with these? And so I like had to like remind myself to use them, and it's funny because like you drop them and the bots, at least for ODST, like their initial reaction isn't to shoot through it to break it, but to then just run towards you to get on the other side, and then they just do that. By the time they make it to the shield, you know, they're dead because you're shooting at them the whole time.
I did always seem to have some sort of equipment, because you're either finding something as it spawned or you're picking something off up off someone that dropped or whatever, but like you seem to have something. Maybe it's a little long, but I find that like the overshield and the invisibility, there's a little too much of a wind up when they like pull it out and slap it on their chest. I'm like,
well, I think they need to have that since you can activate it whenever you want. You know what I mean? Like if you're in a gunfight and you're like losing, but then you could quickly press X to activate the overshield, like you have to make that decision like before you go into the fight.
So it's obvious with the overshield, but I found it really hard actually to track when the active camo was running out. I don't know if that's just me, but I didn't know where to look on the screen. Like it didn't seem like it was on the shield bar like the overshield is.
I was never alive that long to find out. I was dead before it ran out, it didn't matter. Can we give a special shout out to the bug where sometimes, also I want to talk about the like slight, no one was upset about the bro poses, but at the start of your match, when everyone's doing their like little pose, which is obviously going to be customizable because that seems like a given where you're going to be able to do Fortnite dances, but when you load in and the enemy team's corpses are lying around you all face down the same way, and it's like, this is a bit weird.
It's pretty glorious if you ask me.
One of the Spartans snapped at the training academy and that was it. Game over.
But I do like that. I like that little bit at the start where they're all like, yeah, let's go. Because it gave me immediate vibes of the like beta for Halo 5.
But not quite as cringe.
I don't know. I thought it was the same. Like if people high-five each other and fist bump, I'm fine with that. Their slightly weird let's get ready to sprint pose is a bit peculiar because then the first thing they do is
it's like we're about to play dodgeball.
Yeah, and then you zoom into their head and go, oh, I've got an assault rifle.
It like zooms straight in, doesn't it? And you're already there sprinting forward with your rifle and it's like, oh, I must have got it off of my back in a second.
Alright, so I think we should wind down. I think we should go around the proverbial table with something we really liked and something that we want 343 to maybe revisit for the next flight and release. I can go first while you guys think of what you may want to say. I personally really like the menu music. It slams so hard. I see GIFs and tweets and stuff of people just saying how did anyone else boot up Halo Infinite just to listen to the menu music while they did the dishes? And I'm a big fan of post rock already, so just to have some of that be part of the post map music and while you're searching for a game, I am all about that and praise the Infinite Sound team for that. And then in terms of stuff that I'm looking forward to see iterated upon would just be the whole Battle Pass system. I think it was limited because of the preview, but I hope everything's not 100% tied to challenges. I would think that you get experience by completing matches, and that would help level up your Battle Pass. And we'll see how it kind of evolves, but that's something that I would want some iteration on.
I really love the combo play. I'm excited to see more of that and more of how, as we get more and more new weapons, how they complement each other and what kind of equipment and weaponry combinations we can make. Yeah, I'm very excited more broadly to see what those new weapons are. Obviously, a weapon that we've seen a lot of that wasn't in this build is the shock rifle. So I'm very, very interested to see how weapons like that are going to factor into the final game. And one thing I'd like to see them build upon in future flights, pretty please, I am fluttering my eyelids at you and tastefully winking at you, 343. Please include theatre mode, because I feel so bad for the people who were on my team on my first match of Bazaar, where they were trying to kill all the bots and I was just running around looking for the Easter eggs that 343 had mentioned. I know that this is a technical test and I'm very conscious of that, and I promise I am going to put an absolute shit ton of time into testing the game for you, but please let me have some time to take screenshots as well. Thank you very much. Much love. I will order you pizza.
No, they don't like that anymore. They don't like pizza. They don't want the pizza.
Last time this happened, people sent so much pizza to the office, they had to say, stop, please.
They had so much pizza.
There's still some in the fridge a year and a half later.
Probably. It's probably just frozen.
Krysta?
I love the new weapons. I think they're great. I think the commando is definitely my favorite right now. I am rocking that. Oh my god, it's so good. When it comes to just improvements I'd like to see just a little more stability when it comes to lobbies and stuff like that. I definitely had my lobby sent to open all the entire flight, but no one could get into my lobby anyway. So I had to go through and like invite people individually, and then like, you know, people drop out during a game, drop in, stuff like that. Sometimes the game didn't load at all. So just a little more stability when it comes to teaming up with people would be amazing.
And Aaron, take us home.
Oh, right. Let's see, you guys have talked about most of them. Something I kind of like that we didn't talk about, there's a like and a dislike, but it's not my main one. The music in the last 10 of the match, I like that like little ramp up of the music as you're like hunting out your last few kills. Not entirely fussed on the halfway mark sound, that it grew on me a little bit.
Halfway to victory.
It's like the Hunger Games siren.
If the halfway noise was like the Guardian sound effect, I would be like, yeah, I'm here for that. And then you could have your music in the last 10. Things I would like to see a little more. The party stuff, the challenges, because some of mine were very glitchy and wouldn't register. There isn't really much else that we haven't covered that it seemed pretty solid otherwise. I would like a few more. I think my thing would be some more accessibility. I would like to see, they're pretty good for it, but I think like a slider for opacity on the colors and maybe a few more options. Their colors kind of vary between light red, light yellow, and light blue. A few more options in there for that would be pretty good. I'm sure they've tested them and they have their reasons, but give me the full spectrum of color to work through and I'll pick one that I really like.
It kind of seems that they were going like the Rocket League approach, to where one team was like a blue variant, whether it's like blue, purple, or like seafoam and green and stuff like that, and then you had a red variant, which is your reds, your oranges, yellows, browns, maroons, kind of that sort of, I don't know, color set, but yeah, so that's our sort of impressions and critiques and overall thoughts on our first look at Halo Infinite in the multiplayer technical test that 343 put on. We are recording this on Sunday, so by the time this is out, the test will be done and concluded. If you were a insider, sad, I don't know what we're going to be doing. I guess we should play Flight Simulator or The Ascent.
I can't on my console.
Yeah, Tom has the old stinky console that can't play Flight Simulator. You gotta get that upgraded.
I was able to get mine through a friend of a friend.
That sounds slightly shady.
Well, it really wasn't, but it was just the hoops that I had to go through because I couldn't get one myself. But anyway, if you're a listener and you also participated in the build, then please submit tickets to 343, provide feedback, definitely take the survey. I mean, yes, it is cool to play this stuff early, but it doesn't do 343 any good if they don't get the feedback. So even if you liked everything and you had a perfect experience, no crashes or anything like that, then say that, because that still goes in their analytics, and all information and feedback is good for them. So I definitely urge everyone to do those, including the three of you guys. And to do some of our housekeeping, since I missed that at the top of the show, you can catch all of our shows, Halo Headlines, Builds with Blocks, Halo Book Club, and Mission Debrief on our website. We have our partnership with HCS Pro Talk. Will and Josh, both of them were in the flight, and they record their episodes on Mondays, so when this episode's out, their VOD should be out as well. Definitely go listen to them. They're going to have some very cool and interesting and in-depth talk about this, I am sure. I'm super excited to listen to what they think, since they are so involved with the pro scene of Halo. Really excited to hear what they have to say and what their reactions are about the Infinite build. If you are a fan of the show, you can like us, rate us, leave us a review. We want to improve our show, so we won't know how we're doing unless we get feedback from you guys. If you'd like to be a patron, you can go to patreon.com/HaloPodcastEvolved. Thank you so much to all of our current patrons for your continued support. You guys keep the lights on every single week and enable us to create more and more content each and every week. So thank you guys so much. And finally, we encourage our listeners to support Audible, where they can enjoy the growing collection of Halo novels all in one place, along with thousands of other novels, guidance to wilderness programs, and more. You can use the URL audibletrial.com/podcastevolved to learn more and start your free trial today. And then lastly, you can leave us a voicemail at 205-EVOLVED. That's 205-386-5833. If you wanted to give your impressions of the Infinite technical preview, you can leave us the voicemail, comment on Twitter, comment on Discord, however you want to give us that info, and we will share it on a future show. And we'll keep you guys posted on the next preview, whenever that is. Fingers crossed it's monthly, but we have no idea. And we'll go from there. Until next time, everybody, I've been your host, Evolved.
Evolved.